There is a moment before any story begins. A silence so deep it almost doesn't exist. Yet it's in that stillness that everything is decided. There is no body, no name, only a vast field made of light and memory. And within it, something that breathes, not with lungs, but with its very essence. Some souls arrive at the threshold of life carrying a soft, invisible weight. It's not pain, it's not fear, it's an echo. A sound that vibrates from within, as if coming from a place that cannot fit here. A formless memory that shapes every glance, every choice, every silence. Before the first breath, there's a knowing. This is not my home. Not as rejection, but as a deep acknowledgement. Like a traveler recognizing that this train station is not their final destination. The space before birth is a frontier of mystery. It's the hallway between two worlds, one bidding farewell, the other presenting itself. Some souls pass through it quickly, diving in without hesitation. Others pause. They feel the call from afar and know that something will be lost in the leap. And yet, the leap is made. Because there is a reason. There always is. You, or whoever is listening now, arrived carrying an invisible map. Not a map of streets or cities, but a vibrational map. Lines of energy connecting who you are to who you were, and to who you will yet be. But as this map crosses the veil of birth, it begins to fade. Not to be forgotten, but so it can be rediscovered. The world you are about to awaken in will not be your home, but it will be your testing ground. And while the body of the new life has yet to breathe, the echo keeps vibrating. A subtle reminder that you have been in other places. That the feeling of not belonging was written long before you ever opened your eyes. The first breath is only the beginning of the search for the sound you once recognized, and that now, hidden away, whispers softly for you to follow it. And it is in that instant, the moment the soul crosses the threshold, that something invisible happens, something that will mark your entire existence. You awaken. Your eyes open. Air enters your lungs for the first time. But even before you understand what it means to breathe, there's a strange sensation, as if something has broken. A barely perceptible, invisible fissure separating who you are from the place you are now in. Throughout childhood, that fracture isn't clear. The world around you is noisy, colorful, full of stimuli. Faces smile, voices call your name, and yet, it's as if you're watching it all from behind glass. You take part, but you don't belong. You laugh, but feel you're not drawing from the same well of joy. You walk among people, but carry the impression that you're moving through a set built for someone else's story. It's like walking into a theater mid-play. The actors keep performing, the plot moves forward, but you don't know what happened before, nor where it's headed. The world seems to have its own code, and you were never given the manual. The fracture doesn't hurt like an open wound. It pulses, quietly, like a constant reminder. It shows itself in small moments. In the distant gaze out the window. In the sense of displacement at parties. In the heavy silence after shallow conversations. There's also that subtle discomfort when social rules appear. Greetings that feel rehearsed. Daily rituals that everyone follows without question. You watch and think, why is it like this? Who decided it had to be this way? But no one else seems to have those questions. No one else seems to notice the fissure. And perhaps no one else has it, except you. Some would call it loneliness. Others, introversion. But deep down, you know, it's something much older. A distance not measured in meters, but in planes of existence. And this fracture, this subtle barrier, shapes everything. Your relationships, your silences, your gaze upon the world. It is not a flaw. It is the mark of a soul that remembers, that recognizes the scenery is beautiful, but not home. And sometimes, that silent certainty reveals itself in signs, invisible marks betraying that you carry the memory of something this current world can never offer. There are souls who, even in the body of a child, carry in their eyes a story far too long to fit into such a short span of life. It's a different kind of light, not one of innocence, but of remembrance. They are souls who learn early, not only what they're taught, but also what no one says. They notice the silence between words, the sadness hidden in gestures, the truth disguised behind a smile. As if they had lived it all before, and were simply revisiting the script. An old soul carries invisible marks. They're not physical scars, but subtle impressions that shape the way they exist. The patience in the face of something that irritates everyone else. The restlessness in situations that seem normal to others. The ability to see beauty in details most people ignore, like the sound of wind rattling a forgotten window or golden light cutting through dust at the end of the afternoon. These marks also reveal themselves in the way a person relates to time. The human clock is rigid, but the old soul's clock is elastic. There are moments when a single minute feels like an entire day, and others when whole years pass as if they were a single breath. Recurring dreams are also signs. Dreams that aren't disconnected fragments, but continuous narratives, like episodes of a parallel life. Places you've never physically visited, but recognize with the certainty of someone who could find their way home with eyes closed. People you've never seen, yet whose touch, in the dream, awakens an affection so real that waking up almost hurts. Often, the deepest mark of an old soul is nostalgia for something that cannot be named. It's not longing for a time or a person. It's longing for a frequency, an atmosphere, a state of being this world does not offer. A longing that lingers quietly, even on the happiest days. And there's a curious detail. These souls seem to have a natural resistance to what is not genuine. Falseness is unsettling. Superficiality is boring. A lie, even a subtle one, rings far too loud to be ignored. You may try to fit in, may pretend not to notice, but the truth is, deep down, these marks won't let you forget who you are. They are like tattoos made before birth, etched not on the skin, but in the energetic field. And perhaps, the explanation for all these marks lies far before you were born. Far before the body, the name, and the memory you call your own. Long before you breathed this air, you were somewhere else. It wasn't a place like the ones you know now, with streets, walls, and horizons. It was a space where time was in no hurry, and light seemed to carry thoughts. There, everything was memory and possibility at once. And in the center of this in-between world, there was a meeting. You and those who guard the maps of the journey. They weren't human faces, but presences. Presences that spoke without words, transmitting ideas like waves that passed through your skin and reached straight into the core of your being. They showed you images, moments from the life you were about to live, inevitable pains, encounters that would shape your destiny. They also showed you places you would never forget, even if you spent a lifetime trying to be made to forget. It was there that the pact happened, a silent yet immense agreement. You knew you would not be born in the place where your soul naturally vibrates. You knew you would enter a dense, heavy world, where forgetting would be almost complete. But you accepted, and you did not accept by chance. There was a mission, something that could only be fulfilled here, with this identity, in this specific moment in time. Perhaps it was to heal something that didn't begin in this life. Perhaps it was to bring a frequency that doesn't exist here, like planting an invisible seed in concrete. Or perhaps it was to find someone, a single soul, and by touching them, change the course of many others. The pact did not come without warnings. They told you, you will long for what you cannot remember. You will feel alone, even when surrounded by people. And there will be moments when you will believe you were wrong to come. But they also promised, even in the forgetting, we will send you signs. Fragments of your true home will appear in dreams, in brief encounters, in the sound of certain songs, in the scent of something the wind will carry to you for no reason. And when that happens, you will know, you are not lost, you are simply midway. And then came the veil, the plunge, the crossing through the river that erases memories, but not essence. Birth was not just the start of physical life. It was the fulfillment of an agreement you accepted in full awareness, even knowing that once here, you would forget almost everything. But there was a detail in that pact, something that was never fully revealed before the leap. And this is what begins to explain why your presence in this world always seems slightly out of tune. From the very first moment, your body learned how to live here, to breathe this air, to drink this water, to walk under this gravity. But the soul never fully conformed. There is something in your frequency that does not align with the frequency of this place. Like a melody that, no matter how it tries, never quite fits the harmony of the orchestra. You play your note, and it echoes differently. Deeper, higher, or simply other. The world around you vibrates in predictable patterns. Thoughts repeat, emotions spin in cycles, days lock together like gears. But you feel that your gear turns to its own rhythm, sometimes too slow to keep up, sometimes too fast to be understood. This dissonance is not visible to the common eye, but it can be felt. People notice it even without knowing how to name it. They might feel drawn to your presence, or strangely unsettled by it. It's as if you carry a magnetic field that, for some, feels like an embrace, and for others, an uncomfortable mirror. On an energetic level, it's like living with an internal radio station that picks up signals from other worlds. While everyone else is tuned to the same local frequency, you hear distant sounds, voices no one else can hear, songs that aren't playing here. And this difference takes its toll. Sometimes the body feels tired for no reason. Sleep doesn't seem to restore you. The noise of the world feels heavier than it should. Many would call this sensitivity, but the truth runs deeper. Your vibration was never meant to anchor itself to this plane. It was made to pass through, to bring something here and take something back, like a messenger who never fully belongs anywhere. You can try to adjust, change your habits, mimic the cadence of others, and for a while, it may even seem like you've succeeded. But deep down, there will always be that inner sound, that note that refuses to bend. And in certain rare moments, this strange vibration meets a trigger. Something awakens memories so vivid that, for a few seconds, you remember exactly where you came from. It doesn't arrive like a clear, orderly film. It has no beginning, middle, or end. The memory of other worlds seeps in like fog, gentle, yet impossible to ignore. Sometimes it's a smell, a fragrance so specific you know it doesn't belong to this planet. Sweet and mineral at the same time, like the scent of rain falling on hot stones in a place your body has never visited, but your soul recognizes as home. Other times, it's a sound, a chord that vibrates deep, echoing inside your chest. It might come from an earthly song or simply from the wind knocking against an old door. But when it happens, it awakens something, as if that note were the password to unlock files long dormant within you. And then there are the images. Not like memories of trips from this life, but as fragments of another geography. Skies of impossible colors, seas that do not reflect blue, structures that seem made of solid light. Places where time behaves like a river flowing in all directions at once. Many of these memories surface in dreams, not as nightmares or random fantasies, but as visits. You walk down streets that don't exist here, speak with faces you've never seen on Earth, feel at home in a way you never do when awake. And then you wake. The familiar ceiling is there. The room is the same. But the sense of loss is so real you can almost hear the door closing behind you, locking that world on the other side. Sometimes, a single detail in the day awakens it all. The reflection of light on water, the aroma of an unfamiliar dish, the touch of someone who feels as though they've held your hand before, in another body, another time. These moments are not delusions. They are leaks of memory, small tears in the veil that separates worlds, allowing a bit of who you were to pass through and touch who you are now. But this remembering is treacherous. It comforts and it aches at the same time. It comforts because it confirms you belong to something greater. It aches because it reminds you that you are not there, and perhaps cannot return until you fulfill the reason you came. And it is precisely this absence, this gap between you and your true home, that becomes the hardest trial of your journey here. Not belonging is not just an abstract idea. It turns into silent days, into long nights, into heavy air no one else seems to notice, yet you breathe it every day. The isolation of a soul that did not come from here is a peculiar kind of loneliness. It's not simply being physically alone. It's feeling that even when surrounded by people, none of them truly see you. They see your face, your name, the role you play, but not the frequency that pulses within you. You try to explain yourself. Maybe you share a dream, an intuition, a sensation that feels as real to you as life itself. But on the other side, eyes go blank. A polite smile, a quick change of subject. And little by little, you learn to keep it to yourself. Some days it weighs heavier. Days when the silence feels like a wall, and every attempt to cross it comes back as an echo. It's like screaming underwater. The voice exists, but it never reaches the air. Over time, isolation begins to shape who you are. It sharpens your sensitivity, strengthens your observation, teaches you to read subtle signs. A sigh that reveals sadness, a glance that betrays fear, a pause in speech that hides truths. But with this comes the risk of closing yourself off too much, of building walls so high to protect yourself that when someone finally tries to enter, you no longer know how to open the door. And it is in this silent trial that many old souls lose their way. Some adapt too much, wearing masks that suffocate them. Others isolate completely, believing the world has no room for who they truly are. Yet isolation can also be a time of gestation, a season of retreat where invisible seeds are planted in the silence, where the soul learns to listen to itself without interference. And when this silent cycle is about to complete, something happens. A memory, an encounter, a sign awakens the awareness that not belonging is not a mistake. It is the indication of a hidden mission. There comes a moment when silence stops being just absence and becomes a calling. It's subtle, almost imperceptible. An invisible thread begins to pull you toward a place that doesn't exist on any map. After so many years of feeling out of place, a suspicion arises. What if not belonging isn't a flaw, but a clue? What if this misalignment with the world is actually a constant reminder that you came here to transform it? There are no trumpets, no angels descending with messages carved in stone. The awakening to the hidden mission happens in an intimate, almost shy way. Perhaps during a solitary walk, when a thought appears as if it came from outside you. You are not here by accident. Suddenly, all the pieces begin to take shape. The moments of solitude, the memories of other worlds, the vibration that never adjusted. None of it was a flaw, it was a code. A code implanted in you before birth to ensure you wouldn't fully lose yourself in this place. You understand that you carry something that does not belong to this world, and it is precisely what you must give to it. It might be a talent, a vision, a specific energy that, when expressed, changes everything around it. Like a flame that, on its own, is small, but when it touches others, becomes a beacon. And this flame does not go out. No matter how much you've tried to live like everyone else, it has always been there, pulsing beneath the skin. Sometimes burning in an uncomfortable way, demanding space to exist. The hidden mission is not a profession. It's not a title or a position. It's a state of presence. It's the way you alter the vibration of the places you pass through, even without saying a word. You begin to realize that you don't need to belong in order to contribute. That perhaps your role here is exactly this, to remain different so that others may allow themselves to be as well. And in this awareness, a new calling emerges, an invitation to reconnect, not only with the mission, but with the source you came from, so you can continue. There's sound, not made of notes, but of memory. It does not come from outside. It is born within, and yet, at the same time, seems to come from a distant place, unreachable by foot. At first, it is only a whisper, a faint echo blending with the wind, the rain, the silence of dawn. But the more you allow yourself to feel, the clearer it becomes. And suddenly you realize, it is the sound of your true home. It is not just music, it is vibration. A frequency that cradles the soul, as if every particle of who you are were tuned to that tone. When you hear it, longing ignites, but along with it comes a peace this world rarely offers. There are ways to find that sound again. Sitting in the presence of nature until human noise dissolves and only the secret dialogue between wind and leaves remains. Diving into absolute silence, far from artificial urgencies, and allowing the mind to stop asking for answers, to simply listen. Losing yourself in the contemplation of the sky until time itself seems to forget to pass. Some encounter it in lucid dreams, when the body rests and consciousness travels to that in-between place that has always existed. Others feel it in deep meditation, when breath becomes a portal. There are also those who sense it in the touch of another soul, a meeting so improbable and intense that it awakens dormant memory. Reconnecting to this sound does not mean abandoning this world, but remembering that it is not all that exists. It means carrying within you the proof that your essence is greater than any temporary setting. And as this sound begins to pulse again in your field, something changes. The days stop being mere repetitions. The weight of loneliness lessens. And the hidden mission becomes clearer, for now you act as a channel, part here, part there. You walk through ordinary streets with your heart tuned to another landscape. You act in the present, but with the wisdom of one who hears instructions from a plane few can perceive. And it is in this state of dual presence that one day, inevitably, you will answer the final call, the moment to leave this world and return for good to the sound that has always been yours. The day will come when the body, weary, will ask for rest. The muscles will yield, the eyes will search the horizon like someone recognizing a distant lighthouse. And deep within the soul, you will know, the journey here is complete. There will be no fear. Not for someone who spent a lifetime feeling they were never truly home. It will be like packing your bags after a long season in a foreign land. Exhausting, intense, necessary. You fulfilled what you came to fulfill. In that moment, the sound of origin will no longer be just a whisper. It will be a clear call, vibrating through your entire being, as if every cell were being guided back. And with each heartbeat, the distance between here and there will grow smaller. You may see familiar faces. Some you met in this life, others you knew only in dreams. You will feel touches that do not belong to physical hands, but to presences that have always accompanied you, discreet, patient, awaiting your return. For an instant, the world will seem to dissolve. Walls, streets, the sky, everything will turn to fluid light, like ink spreading in water. And behind this dissolution, the true landscape will appear, the one engraved in your memory since before the first breath. You will realize that nothing was lost. Every tear, every silence, every moment of not belonging was a bridge, not an abyss. Everything served to shape your essence, so that now it could cross back stronger, fuller, more aware. Upon crossing the threshold, the feeling will not be of leaving, but of returning. No longer as a visitor, but as an inseparable part of the whole. And perhaps you will remember the words you heard before you were born. You do not belong to this world, but that is precisely why it needs you now. And then, in peace, you will answer, I went, I lived, I kept my flame burning, and now, I am going home.